Good morning. I'm Brian Downs, and this is a Republic if you can keep it. I'm coming to you on May the 26th, 2025, getting close to 10 o'clock in the morning from Orlando, Florida. Let's talk about Harvard, the centuries-old university whose motto is one word, veritas, the Latin word for truth. Clearly, this institution and Donald Trump were fated to be enemies. Can't have a motto like that. Also, by the way, it's worth noting that Barron Trump, Donald Trump's youngest son, was not accepted at Harvard. And then Donald Trump went to war with Harvard. Donald Trump, of course, ordered Harvard to change lots of things about how it teaches and what sort of viewpoints it permits on campus. This crashes directly into the First Amendment that we treasure above all others as the most foundational freedom of the United States. Harvard is a private university, always has been. The president has no power to tell them to do anything. Now, yes, Harvard does get federal grant money. That grant money cannot be spent on students who aren't Americans, by the way. But the president is not the boss of Harvard. Donald Trump thinks he is, though. Donald Trump believes that he's the boss of the universe. If it comes out of his mouth, it is, of course, a magic spell that changes reality as we know it. Wow. Which column does this go into? Well, malfeasance, obviously. It's simply retribution because they wouldn't let Barron in. Incompetence, certainly. Why wage war on Harvard? This dominates the headlines. Were Americans in October of 2024 saying to themselves, man, we got to have a president who will really put Harvard in its place. Harvard is the problem. I don't think that they were. Additionally, Harvard is one of the world's greatest and most famous universities. It has been printing the American ruling class for centuries, which, yes, I acknowledge may in itself be a problem. But the point is, Harvard has hundreds of wealthy and influential alumni who still have their Harvard class ring on their hands and will very likely marshal their wealth and influence to battle Donald Trump's unlawful and unconstitutional assault on this institution of higher learning. Courts have been telling Trump he's wrong, he can't do this. Every time anyone tells him he's wrong, he simply tries another trick. We'll cut off this grant. We'll remove this funding. We will order Harvard to expel all of its students from overseas. It's foreign students, it's students who are not Americans. That's 25% of the Harvard student body. They gotta go. Why? Any particular student perpetrated any particular offense or crime? If that's the case, then perhaps that person ought to be imprisoned or deported. But we don't have any particular student who's perpetrated an offense. We just have a bunch of people who aren't Americans. This, of course, is illegal, unconstitutional. The president does not have the power to do this, but the fact that the president doesn't have the power to do a certain thing has never prevented Donald Trump, the criminal, the enemy of the Constitution, the architect of the January 6th insurrection, from, just doing it. And then waiting to get slapped down by we, the Americans, who stand against the tyrants. Harvard. That's the hill he wants to die on. Harvard, which of course has a famous law school, and therefore one of the most famous, most accomplished law schools in the world, and therefore literally legions of lawyers on their payroll or among their alumni who will battle these crimes. This is a fight he cannot win, President Trump. And to what end? To what end? What did he think he was going to get? If Harvard had immediately said, oh, yes, sir, to anything he demanded, including changes to the cafeteria menu, to what end? How would that benefit the United States or the Trump administration? This is just another example of how Donald Trump believes that he ought to have the power to destroy anyone who he perceives as criticizing him, disappointing him, disobeying him, showing him up. Donald Trump, of course, is a fool, a meathead, who's descending into dementia. This is why he hates intellectuals and academia. This man is unfit for the Oval Office. How many more examples do we need? Let's 86 this president. Let us remove him from power, which he does not deserve and which he has misused so often. Contact your congressional representatives and say, impeach.